Hi, it's Jeremy, and this lecture is titled, There Is No Tutorial. It's a funny joke if you've seen The Matrix, but even if you haven't, it summarizes the main point here, which is to remind you that the gold standard for tutorials in apps and games is to not need a tutorial because your app or game is so simple. Now that's an unrealistic goal for many, but we want to get as close to that ideal as possible, and look into some examples of what we can and should not do when designing our tutorials for our apps or games. Earlier in the course, we reviewed some ways not to do things. So here's a reminder. Don't have users swipe through static screens with text. This is an example from Solr, and these are the actual images that would appear inside the app. You'll notice the little dots at the very bottom of these screenshots. This indicates that you had to swipe through each one of these static images to understand how to use this app. Don't present users with large screens that have tons of text. Users will swipe through and not read anything, or tap through and not read anything. This just simply isn't a good way to communicate information to your users. So then you say, great, Jeremy, I believe you. I'm going to redo my tutorial. What is the solution? And we discussed earlier, the solution is to provide contextual information only as users absolutely need to see it. So as they discover a new feature, present them some information on how to use that feature, and ideally do so with animations or visual cues as opposed to writing. Great, so you're going to go ahead and do that, and now you might fall into this common pitfall. Text appeared in the top right, the bottom right, and now the left of the screen. But you probably didn't notice the text in the top and bottom right of the screen. Why? Your attention was drawn to the center because of the animated text. This is a common mistake developers make. When you do your tutorial and try to make it interactive and contextual and all these good things, make sure that you don't introduce visual elements that are outside the field of view or the point of focus for the user. It's unbelievably common to see tutorial elements appear on the edges of the screen and go unnoticed by users. The only solution is consistent user testing. You will be constantly surprised by how stupidly users behave, and you will overestimate how much they'll notice something on one end of the screen if their attention is devoted to the other end of the screen. Now let's wrap up by addressing a dilemma. This is all nice and good, but you are on a tight timeline. Is it important to have this good tutorial as part of your MVP? Do you need it for launch? And should you work on getting it done in time for demo day, or should you prioritize other features? The answer depends on your app. If people can still figure it out even if you have a suboptimal tutorial, then you can launch with it. If nobody you test it with can figure it out, you need to rework it before you launch. However, I want to stress you only have two good options for demo day. Either you have a good tutorial, as described in this video, and it'll impress the user at demo day, or you disable your tutorial because you'll be able to explain to people verbally how to play your game or use your app. And a verbal explanation face-to-face is better than a bad tutorial. Do not leave a slow, tedious, bad tutorial enabled on demo day when you show off your app.